Next, we have gentleman Fred Stennis. Fred is he's the supervisor and senior outreach advisor for the Department of Education. He's the FAFSA guy. Many of you have met him or have heard him on webinars or speaking. He's also my partner in crime at the Department of Education. And so I can't do Project SOAR without Fred. And we're a pretty good partnership together, just learning from each other's agencies and sharing resources so that Project SOAR is very successful. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the FAFSA guy, Fred Stennis, and he's also going to dismay some of the myths that are out there when we talk about what FAFSA is about, and also sometimes parents just understanding what is FAFSA? Why do I have to release my financial information? Am I responsible for this loan? And those are all untrue factors. And so Fred does a pretty good job of working with us so that we can work with you to try to clarify that. It's very important to have parental engagement involved and to get that financial information into the FAFSA system. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Fred. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, man, thank you all for the invitation to come out and speak with you. As Maria Queen mentioned, my name is Fred Stennis. I get so excited, and David, I appreciate your remarks. Those remarks reminded me of my former experience before college and getting into college and going through college and so forth. And I'm just so excited to be here, as I know you all, navigators and other staff members who work directly with students, helping them do the FAFSA and getting them beyond the high school level into college it can be challenging, but for me it's very rewarding. Seeing the photos here that Maria showed earlier and the outcomes, it's what it's really all about. So I'm glad you all took the time to come out from various locations and convene here, because this is really what it's all about. I have a few minutes. I'm going to take just a few minutes to introduce a few things, and I really want to be relaxed. Is that okay? I don't want to make this too formal and all of that. So if you have questions, you just raise your hand and we can try to address them. And we have a Q&A section at the end, so if you want to hold at that point, you can. I have a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to go through those slides kind of quick. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I wanted to put them there so you can have them there to take home with you. I know they'll make them available to you afterwards, and you can see some of the resources and follow up with some of the slides that I prepared. But I'm not going to take the time to go through all of them and read them. I guess I'm having a senior moment like Maria. Is it forwarding? No, it's not advancing. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, today we're going to talk about federal student aid updates and resources. So we're going to go through some of these resources. But before I go into that, I want to just share with you, I'm a former financial aid director, worked in Alabama for several years, over 10 years in the financial aid office, HBCU, and so forth. So I know some of the challenges you mentioned about the award letters and students showing up on the doorstep and having done the housing form or this form or completed their FAFSA totally and all that drama. But we even still, we welcome them and we work through it because the goal is to get them there and then get them through the process. So I know those challenges. But I have 4 children. My daughter, Amanda, she finished college in 2015, Alabama A&M. She's a teacher here in Maryland. And my son is a 21-year-old junior at Morgan State in Baltimore. I'm trying to get him through. Then I have a 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. I get that expression every time. So I got 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. But my 2 girls, but I'm not going to be retiring anytime soon, so I'll be in the game for a while, But I've been around the whole education thing for a long time, and I know the ebbs and flows and all that. So I can relate to some of the challenges and experiences that you guys have heard about as you interact with some of your parents that you talk to and students and so forth. But I'm here to tell you there's hope. I'm trying to tell myself that. But there is hope. And again, we appreciate you and the work that you do so much because it really does make a difference. Just some of the topics we're going to talk about today. We're going to, again, go through some of these slides fairly quickly so I can get to your questions. I want you all to have an opportunity to really ask questions, and hopefully we can answer them here for you today. About us, Federal Student Aid. I work at Federal Student Aid. I came from the financial aid community to D.C., initially in program compliance. I was worked in the program compliance division, where that's the division that oversees all the universities in the country and so forth, rules and regulations and all that. Did that for several years, chief of staff, but I really wanted to get back into my first love, and that's directly with the parents and students. So now I'm supervisor over our Awareness and Outreach group, which is a group. I have a team that goes around the country and works with school districts and college access organizations and a variety of people, at the grassroots level, helping them get engaged and get them informed about the FAFSA and the financial aid and Title IV aid and what we can present to them so they can use these dollars to go to school. But Federal Student Aid, which is right around the corner, not too far from here, is the agency that provides billions of dollars, over 20, 21, $25 billion for citizens interested in going to school and needing funding to do that. We're one of the largest agencies that provides those fundings. And it's really, we do about 13, upwards as high as 20 million applications a year. We do about 98% of them online electronically. I come from an era where we did everything on paper. Back in the day, we had all these long, laborious applications. That's pretty much done away with. We still have paper, but we do majority of our applications online. So we really are about helping students, again, move forward with their education and post-secondary education, and just really sponsoring the American mind. You'll see here our website, Federal Student Aid, a home page of Federal Student Aid, studentaid.gov, talks about the various stages of the financial aid life cycle. But these dollars I mentioned earlier are going to come in three forms: grants, loans, and federal work studies. So those are the three forms that this $20 billion are going to come in, so students can use these dollars to go to school. Project SOAR, FSA, Federal Student Aid. We had the opportunity to work with Maria Lana Queen over this last year or so, and it's been an outstanding partnership. We've been able to visit the 9 centers. My team went to North Carolina and Alabama, and I had the privilege of going to Philadelphia. Anybody here from Philadelphia? Housing? Oh, excellent group over there. You guys were just starting and getting on board at that time. And LA in the house? Ooh, Los Angeles, as well as Seattle. Great team over there. We had a chance to work with all the new navigators that were just coming on board and some of the other staff members. And I just wanted to say at that time, we did a training. We provided some fundamental basic understanding and information that they could use as they begin to roll out their process with the students and parents they worked with. Here's a couple shots of pictures of the Rome, Georgia crew, as well as Milwaukee. Anybody here from Milwaukee? Okay, all right, excellent. I know Claire, she's in the front, African-American young lady who came back with an astounding report about the work that's going on there, so I was glad to hear about that. But we basically had a session in the morning time where we actually worked with the navigators and went through a PowerPoint and had a lot of robust discussions. And in the afternoon, we had the pleasure of actually meeting one-on-one with the parents who came into the location where we actually were training in the morning, and we got a chance to see firsthand how the navigators worked. And how they were able to roll out the information they learned in the morning time and how they applied it in the evening time as students and parents came in. They did an outstanding job. So I'm really confident that they're going to be successful as they continue to move forward. So we talked about, again, the application process and FSA ID and tools and resources. We gave them a lot of information. So we really were at a high level. We didn't really go deep in the weeds. It was not our goal to make, and it still is not our goal to necessarily make navigators, financial aid administrators, or gurus, but we wanted to empower them enough, inform them enough with the kind of information that they could be successful as they interact and communicate with their constituents. And I hope we did that. Did we do a good job of that? Okay, good. Again, just a little brief summary. We went to all 9 of the sites, and here is a couple pictures from our High Point in North Carolina group. North Carolina here, High Point? Yeah, excellent. I got a good report back from my team with that group as well. So Look forward to some continued success and work with you all as well. But I just wanted to show you a little bit of what we did last year, and we had a great time, and I think it was a win-win situation. Here's a couple of shots of some of the team members I sent out to various locations. Maisha, she couldn't be here today, and Claire, as well as Ashley Harris. Ashley went as far as, what, Phoenix, Arizona? Anybody from Arizona? Oh, wow, yeah, she said it was hot there. That's what she said. She called me up on the phone and said, it is smoking out here, you know. Okay. But she had a great time, too. But just want you all to see again and kind of meet some of our outreach specialists. This is what we do, so we always get excited about the opportunity to meet with you all. But some myths. I'm going to go kind of fast here, so if I'm talking too fast, just kind of raise your hand to me and slow down a little bit. But I want to get through this so I can get some of your questions. Myths about financial aid, and there's a plethora of myths out there, and we're here to dispel some of them. How many of you all heard this before? Federal student aid is just free money and grants. How many of you heard it before? Okay, now, the reality is that federal students, again, I mentioned earlier, 3 types. You're going to find funding in the grants and the student loan program, as well as the federal work-study program. So it's not just one program. I've given you the URL here, studentaid.gov, you can go to and refer to and kind of learn more about the individual types and some details around them. How about this one? My parents make too money, so I won't qualify. You all hear that? Yeah. I tell people all the time, do not believe that. Don't go for the hype for that. You need to really continue to be engaged with the FAFSA. And the reason why is there really is no cutoff of income. Now, it's true that you might not be eligible for certain grant programs, for example, based on income and some other criteria. But I tell parents all the time as I talk and interact with them that the FAFSA application is tied to so many things, a lot of scholarships, even institutional aid and other programs. And by not filling it out, and even state grants. So by not filling it out, you could be knocking yourself out of the running for some of those dollars, like state grants. So if you don't do the FAFSA because you believe this myth, you could be, again, missing opportunities for other funding that may not necessarily be Title IV federal funding, but still funding that require that a FAFSA be completed. And different entities use the FAFSA in different ways to evaluate eligibility. But the key thing is that they all pretty much ask for a completion of the FAFSA. So I tell parents all the time, complete the FAFSA every year, whether you decide to take a student loan out or participate in, or you can't or can or may not be participating in a Pell Grant or not, complete the FAFSA. Are you telling your parents that? Everybody telling their parents that? Okay. How about this one? Only students with good grades get financial aid. Of course, we want to encourage good grades, no doubt. That's number one reason why you want to go to school. But we don't want to discourage anybody who may not be in that top tier, and they become discouraged and think that they don't have any opportunity, whether it be a 4-year school, 2-year school, public, private, proprietary school. There are opportunities in a variety of areas. But we tell students that, again, there is no GPA grade requirement to submit the FAFSA, but once you arrive on campus, the schools pretty much will manage and monitor grade performance. And hopefully, if you are continuing to do well and meet their institutional GPA requirements, you can continue to persist. But if you're not, they'll probably give you an invitation to go home anyway. But we want to tell people though, not to be discouraged, though, because coming out of high school and so forth, there's not a GPA requirement that says you have to have a 4.0, for example, in order to even complete the FAFSA. That is a myth. How about this one? I don't have good credit, so I can't get a student loan. Y'all hear that? Anybody in discussions? Anybody had discussions around credit and so forth? Okay, we want to dispel that too, because the reality is that you don't need a credit check in order to participate in Title IV aid and complete a FAFSA. Unless you want to complete what's called a direct student plus loan, then that's the one program that you'll have to, parent will have to submit some credit report information where a check will be done. But outside of that program, you do not have to have a certain credit score to participate and engage. So we want to dispel any myths around that if people have those concerns. How about this one? My ethnicity or age makes me ineligible for federal student aid. Anybody have those kind of concerns or questions around that? Okay, we really want to discourage that as well. There are basic eligibility requirements. Basically, as long as you are have completed a GED or a high school diploma and you have interest in going to college and you're applying to a accredited institution or college, you can participate. It's not based on your ethnicity, and so as long as you're a U.S. citizen, going to college and you want to major in a legitimate degree that the college offers, you can participate in Title IV aid and apply with the FAFSA. So you want to dispel that myth. How about this? My parents aren't U.S. citizens, so there's no way I'll get aid. Did y'all hear that? You know, we have different groups around the country. We're a melting pot, mixture of ethnicity groups, and there are requirements around students who have to be U.S. citizens. We do, that is a requirement, but your parents may not be, and we don't want to discourage you as a student from completing that FAFSA. When I was in aid years ago as a director of financial aid, it used to be in the early 80s that you couldn't get aid, period, if you weren't a U.S. citizen or your parents and so forth. That criteria has changed. We really opened that gate up a little bit wider to allow, again, as long as the student's a U.S. citizen, their parents can put zeros on the FAFSA for the Social Security section, and at least the student without the parent information can acquire an unsubsidized loan, whereas before they couldn't be considered for any federal funds. At the very minimum now, they can be eligible, as long as they're U.S. students, they can apply for an unsubsidized loan and be considered for institutional aid and other programs to help them persist and cover their costs. So there are options. I mentioned earlier, parents can use zeros in the place for their Social Security number on the application. And just a couple more. How about this? I support myself, so I don't have to include my parents. A lot of questioning around the country about independency. You all get those kind of questions? Am I independent or dependent? And my dad's not completing the FAFSA application, so what do I do? You get a lot of those questions. We hear that around the country everywhere we go. But again, this is not necessarily true. I've given you the URL here at studentaid.gov/dependency. You'll see some details around that. But basically, in a nutshell, the application does require, it has two parts, the parent section and who else? The student section, that's correct. So if you're not getting the parent section, then the application is going to be considered incomplete. But there's questions on there that deal with what's called, that allow for students who may have special circumstances to answer certain questions, and they might be able to exempt those parent questions, remaining questions. And we recognize there's all kinds of special circumstances around the country that cause parents not to engage, or some students don't even have parents. They may not be around, they may not have seen them, maybe some abuse involved, or they may be incarcerated, or all kinds of reasons as to why the parents may not be engaging. But we do provide questions on there that allow students to still complete the application and hit the submit button, and then when those applications come into us, Federal Student Aid, we will accept them and we'll leave it up to the school and the students then to complete what's called professional judgment process. And the school can then make a determination as to whether or not you can be treated as an independent student without the parents' information, or if they'll require you to still obtain some parent information because you're a dependent student. Nowadays, some parents are, well, Johnny's been out on his own since he's 18, he's paying his own rent, he's taking care of himself and so forth. But because he doesn't meet the federal definition for independent, which the age requirement is what? Who knows? Who knows? Come on, navigators, who knows? 24. I heard it's 24. So if you're under the age of 24, you're considered a dependent student. If you're 24 and above, you are an independent student. So if you're 20 years old and you're paying your own rent and you've got your own lease and got your own car, your own job and so forth, you still consider, for FAFSA purposes, a dependent student. But again, if there's some special circumstances around that, you can apply or talk to the institution and be considered as an independent under special circumstances using PJ, professional judgment. Okay, so the schools will work with you on that. How about this? I can't file my FAFSA form in October because I haven't applied to any schools. A lot of students feel like they have to do the FAFSA or have to do admissions first. Do you have to apply for college admissions first before the FAFSA? Right, you guys are a sharp bunch. You do not. You can go ahead and do the FAFSA first. We really want students to engage early. We've changed. It used to be the FAFSA was initiated in January. It's now initiated in what month? October. Okay, and we are looking for tax information on the application from 2 years back. Some folks refer to it as prior, but 2 years back. That way, 2 years ago, those tax years pretty much have been closed out and included, and so you can use those numbers on the application. Whereas before, we pretty much use tax information from 1 year prior, and some people are late filers and so forth. They can't complete their FAFSA because they don't have their tax numbers completed or FAFSA application completed, so they don't have tax information to put on the FAFSA. But we've eliminated all those barriers now by using 2 years prior tax returns, so you can pretty much submit your FAFSA and not have that as a barrier to you. Deadlines, we moved it back to October also to help students who are in the admissions process. A lot of schools are doing admissions early, January and so forth, coming out of high school. So by moving the application month back to October, it allows you to do the FAFSA and be prepared simultaneously for those early admissions processes, but you don't have to complete admission application first before you can do a FAFSA. I just wanted to make sure you all are aware with that. A couple more. I'll have to update my FAFSA form in the spring. You don't have to update anything. Now you can go ahead and do all that stuff real time and complete. It used to be you would go ahead and submit. If you haven't done your taxes, for example, you can come back later and update your FAFSA application, but all that is now eliminated. So now you can go ahead and do all that right now and be on time with the admissions process. We also recommend that students do, how many have ever heard of the IRS data retrieval tool? Good. And you're encouraging your students to use that and engage that. Is that helpful for them? Any comments about that? People are really using that? We really encourage that and get the data directly from the IRS. We have a process now in the application where now you don't have to go through all that 1040 stuff. If you filed your application with the IRS, your tax return that is, you can hit a button on the application called the IRS Data Retrieval Tool, and information from your tax return, those key elements like AGI, just gross income, and taxes paid, household size, will automatically be exported from the IRS tax return and imported into the FAFSA application. So we think that's a really neat assistance to the applicants, so they don't have to go through all the other documents related to the IRS tax return. So we're getting a lot of good responses around that. So I want you to continue to encourage your students and families to use that application. How about this last one? I didn't qualify for financial aid last year, so filling out the FAFSA form, again, is just a waste of time. You get anybody who talks like this? It's not a waste of time. It's super important that you tell your students to fill the application out every year. It's an annual application, so if you want to be considered for aid each year, you have to complete a FAFSA application each year. And it comes out when? When's it come out? There you go, October, that's right. October is when the application comes out. I mentioned earlier about the IRS DRT, Data Retrieval Tool. Again, we want you to encourage your students to use that. I've given the URL address here. I'm not going to go through all of this. But again, this is an opportunity for parents and students to use this information if they've completed their tax return already. Yeah. I know you all get a lot of conversations around special circumstances, so I really want to address that and let you all know, really, it's not us, FSA, who really makes the final determination of when that's going to be approved. Who makes the final determination? The school, okay? And they may have some issues as it relates to their financial situation, or when they submit the FAFSA and use tax information from 2 years ago. That was then. The situation now may have changed. They have lost a job or lost income or whatever, or things have changed. They can use that opportunity to express that in writing to the financial aid office, and they can reevaluate and see what kind of options they may have. Again, it's really important that you let the students know it's the school, and we really encourage you to encourage them to go to the school that they intend to admit to. Go to their website and find out what that school's special judgment or PJ process is. A lot of schools will require that a letter of some sort be submitted outlining what their special circumstances are. And then I would strongly recommend that you recommend to your constituents that they, along with that letter, add some supporting documentation to corroborate their situation. A lot of times they can get information from a high school counselor who knows the situation as a reason why they have a special situation. They also need to submit something like from a pastor who can corroborate their story and their situation. We have a lot of students who are dealing with homeless situations or abuse situations, had to leave home and can't stay home with traditional mom and dad, maybe living with uncle or family member or whatever. So I just want you to correctly advise your parents and students how to navigate the special circumstances process. And it's basically submit that documentation in writing. So don't call the school and want to talk an hour about all these circumstances. We know you have them, but if you really want to help them get through the process, have them document. Explain what your situation is, or go to the website and see if they have a special form that the school requires that they submit, and then accompany with that some special corroborating documentation from a social worker or someone who can vouch for your situation, and put that all together and submit that to the school so they can reasonably evaluate what your situation is and make a determination, and hopefully in your favor based on your circumstances, and they can award you at that point. So I want you to definitely let your parents and students know that if they have these kind of circumstances, not to be discouraged, not to be overwhelmed. Just follow the process so they can get some resolution. And then you all have done a great job with helping them get that resolution, so I want to commend you all as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about our demo. How many of you all have seen our FAFSA demo? You had a chance to get on that website? Good. We really want to encourage you to check the website out, the demo site. I've given you the URL, again, FAFSA.demo.test.ed.gov. I've given you the password and the username, so you can get on there free of charge anytime and experiment. Play around with it. See how that application feels, what kind of questions are asked, so you can be better empowered and prepared to help your students as they go through the application process. And this information comes out annually. But we put it out there on this website so folks like you, navigators and staff members, can really get a feel for what the parent and student is going to have to go through as well. So I really strongly encourage you to take advantage of this and experiment with it. It's in English and Spanish, so you can be successful with that. I want to give you a couple updates, FAFSA.gov updates. Coming out this year, new fiscal year, hopefully by October, we'll have a demo coming out, the end of beta coming out in end of July, where we're going to be working with RWA, Responsive Web Applications. We've really done a lot to enhance and integrate all our applications and make them accessible on mobile phones as well as tablets and desktops and so forth. And the FAFSA application is going to be integrated in the studentaid.gov website, so you have one place, one stop, one shop to go to do all things. So you'll see more and hear more about that in the coming days. I wanted to share that briefly with you, so look forward to that. We're working on that feverishly now to get it ready for October. This is a demo site of what the new site will look like. So you'll see this. If you're a new student, you can click here where it says new to FAFSA.gov, start here. If you're a returning student, you can just hit log in. Your information will be there, and you can engage. And the site will have a lot of new FAFSA announcements that you can get, upcoming programs and changes with this website, and help you navigate through it. You'll get the information there, deadline dates for state applications and so forth, and a lot of fact sheets. You'll get a chance to learn more about colleges. So once you get beyond the FAFSA, we'll give you some information about colleges that are around the country, about their graduation rates, and the college scorecard, which is a product that really is helpful for students and parents to really understand about the majors that are offered, the job opportunities, career after college, as well as the graduation rates, attrition rates, all kinds of information. So we really want you to take advantage of the website when it's launched. Also, the estimates for financial aids using the FAFSA forecaster. So those high school students who may be a junior, not ready to submit their FAFSA yet, but they want to kind of get an understanding about what their EFC, estimated family contribution number, might look like, they can use the FAFSA forecaster and kind of see what kind of questions they'll have and what kind of EFC number they might have. So as they plan for their senior year, they'll have an idea of what they're dealing with. Again, this is a new one, My Student Aid mobile app. That's going to be coming out this year as well. Again, I mentioned earlier, we're planning to become mobile live for you with the app, where you're going to be able to complete your application on mobile. A lot of millennials, this is how they communicate nowadays. In fact, how many of you are on Facebook? Now, you know they say now Facebook is for what, 30 and older, the old folks. You know, that's what they say. You know, the young folks now are moving all over the place with Instagram and what are they, Twitter, and what's some of the other social media? Snapchat, yeah, I'm not, yeah, my son and my daughter, like, yeah. But again, we're trying to make it more convenient for them to engage in the process. And this is some sample screenshots. You can kind of see what that will look like. We're going to roll that out. You'll be able to log in and put in your FSA ID. You'll be able to get started and see the whole process. So the paper application and the online application you see now will be converted or migrated over and made mobile accessible as well. You'll be able to capture some of your student information and also your school selection. You'll be able to choose from a drop-down option there and select your school. And you mentioned earlier, David, the schools you selected number. You said you selected how many? 15, and we really, that really brought back to mind. I really want to encourage students, you to tell students to not just on the FAFSA put one school. You can put up to 10. I strongly recommend at least 3 or 5, at least. And why is that important? Because school A may get your information. Well, we'll send information out to all the schools you chose. And when they get it, they, in turn, can evaluate your information and send you an award letter. School A may offer you, let's say, $10,000. School B may offer you $40,000. School C may offer you $50,000. But you won't know unless you list multiple schools to see, so you can sit down with your parents and have a conversation and evaluate what your options are based on finances as well as what the school is offering. So I strongly encourage you to encourage them to list multiple schools, even if you don't plan necessarily to go to a particular school, but I recommend list public schools, private school, in-state school, out-of-state school, you know, proprietary school. List them, again, you can list up to 10 per application to see what kind of options you will have. And it's all about options, you know, so don't, even if you're set on going to one school, university, or so-and-so, that's fine, list that school, but list some other ones. Things change. You may go to that school the first semester, like you said, and things change, and you come home and don't go back the next semester. And because you listed, say, for example, a local school, let's say, your FAFSA, your financial information is already pretty much packaged, and it's easier to get you engaged at the new school because you listed the new school. So really, it's all about options. But here's some more information, again, that you'll see on the cell phone, mobile version. Again, parent information, all that will be on the mobile app, and a lot of helpful information that you can get. So students will be able to really, we hope and pray that they'll use this. We think they will. We've done some studies. We think they will and find it's a true benefit to them. We will still have the desktop option as well as tablet option, but we really want to be available in a variety of ways for students and their convenience. Because it's all about getting them engaged. And you'll be able to sign the mobile phone. How many of y'all sign now when you check out at restaurants and you can sign your name on your mobile phone and so forth? You'll have that option here and get it to us at FSA. And you'll see something like this: congratulations. You'll get a notification that your application is complete and submitted and telling you what happens next. You'll even get some information on the far right there about your EFC number, estimated family contribution. So you'll have that right there available to you. Now I want to go into just a few tools and resources that I want to make sure you are aware of. If you aren't already aware, this is your website you want to give to parents and students, studentaid.gov. It's your one-stop shop. It's for parents and students. Again, we'll talk about different stages in the financial aid life cycle. When you come into school, there's information there. While you're in school, the 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, grad school, there's information to help you there. And even when you finish school, after school and go into repayment, you have questions about repayment options and who to talk to about that, servicers. This website has a plethora of information that will be very beneficial to you. We get a lot of traffic here, so we really want to encourage you to encourage parents to go here to get information as they are preparing for the financial aid process. Just an announcement here, our publications. Fortunately or unfortunately, we're kind of doing away with the paper applications, publications. All of them will be available electronically online, so you'll still be able to download, print, and so forth. But the deadline, August 30th. So if you want to get the paper document publications for your constituents, I strongly encourage you, recommend to go online and register at Financial Aid Toolkit. How many of y'all been to the Toolkit? You've been to the toolkit and you've seen some of the options there, but you can go to toolkit as well and order your publications and have them on hand so you can distribute to your parents and your housing authority residents. But after that date, they will no longer be available in hard copy form. So I strongly recommend that you go online today or as soon as possible to get back to your various areas and stack up. We really want you to identify what you want, what you need with pieces. We have a lot of popular pieces, and order them now so you can have them available. Again, we'll still have the college prep checklist. How many of you all use a checklist for your high school students, which outlines all the steps grades 9 through 12. I think it goes back to 8th grade even, about what steps you should be taking as you prepare for graduation, as well as do you need money for college? That's a popular one. You all use that one? Okay, My Way, My Future for our middle school students. That's a popular one I like as well, and a lot of loan information. So again, you want to go to our toolkit website, or for parents, our studentaid.gov/resources website, and they can get a lot of information about our webinars. We have webinars pretty much monthly. We just concluded a series talking about all kinds of things, packagings, how to navigate those packages and understand those, loan information, repayment information, public service loan forgiveness, our Title IV programs, all kind of topics. And you can go to the website and register. You can also see some of the archived videos or the archived webinars we've had in the past if you haven't been able to participate in them. So we want to encourage you to do that. I spoke earlier about the FSA forecaster, which is an estimator for those students who are not necessarily going to college immediately, but maybe in high school, sophomore, junior year. They can use this tool and they can kind of see what they might be obtaining as they prepare to go to college the following year. The toolkit I spoke a lot about. Financial Aid Toolkit. This is a website that's geared directly and exclusively for high school counselors, as well as navigators and college access providers and those professionals who work with students. It talks a lot about how to conduct outreach, which is what we do. You know, some of y'all want to do a financial aid night. It gives you all the step-by-step playbook, how to do that. Gives you all information about trainings, as well as financial aid programs, and a very, very robust option for tools and resources where you can search and you can basically identify what things you might be interested in. You'll see here, if you're looking for a type of PowerPoint presentation, looking for a actual fact sheet or something, you can select that. There'll be a drop-down arrow that you'll see, and you'll also be asked what kind of audience you're looking to serve. You know, parents, students, or professionals. It'll be a drop-down questionnaire. You can select that, and then basically hit Get Resources, and you'll see all kinds of pieces and PDFs and all kinds of things you can use. We want you to use in your work as you work with parents. This is for you. It was designed with you in mind, so we want you to take advantage of it. And you can kind of customize some things and use in your day-to-day work as you work with parents and students. So we really want you to take advantage of that, and we really want you to log on and find out what kind of things that will help you. Social media outreach, we have all kinds of posting. You might want to use some of the things we've used in the past and copy that and put on your website or use in your social media work. So there's all kinds of things. So if you haven't seen it, you want to make sure you take advantage of it. We are in the social media space. We're on Facebook, okay, as well as Twitter, as well as YouTube. So there's a lot of videos out there you can download and sit down with your parents on the how-to steps. So we really want to let you know we are out there for you and trying to provide some services that will really help you do what you do. If you have questions, you can give us a call at 1-800-4FED-AID. We are in different time zones. Kind of going fast here. I know you all have some questions, but we're available for you. So give us a call and we'll work it out and see how we can help you get through whatever challenges you may have. With that said, I'll wind down. And any questions?
Did you know that? Okay, the one question I have is with the IRS data retrieval.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. With the IRS data retrieval tool, when you have students and parents that are working, when you click on the IRS data retrieval tool link, it allows you to put in one person's information that pulls down from IRS. Are you all working on possibly where we can put the students' information in? Because once it goes to the school of their choice or choices, it's not connecting.
The IRS, they do work with us in tandem. We're working on some features. They pretty much manage and control that piece. It's for those who have submitted an IRS tax return. So parents have a Social Security number with their return, and students have a Social Security for their return. So if they've both submitted those returns, and preferably electronically, that information is theirs. So they both can use it separately. But to your question about integration, I don't know where they are on that piece. There's some security and sensitivity issues there. I know that probably would be convenient for the school's sake, but right now, that's not the option right now. So we really encourage those students to submit their tax return electronically, and they can use the button individually and get the information imported into the FAFSA application. But stay tuned, who knows?
Ask on when parents are filling out the FAFSA form and they're listing that they have a cousin in the house.
They have what?
A cousin, a cousin that's
Family
listed,
member.
another family member, and they're in school. So they're asking that they show proof that that person is a dependent in the household before they approve the financial aid.
So the question is,
How do you, should they list, if that person is already, should they list that person? Or, because it's holding up
this
the
is a
financial
very
aid.
good question, and I'm going to throw it back out to my audience, my staff who's been trained. The FAFSA application asks for whose information? Parent and student. Is uncle, aunt, grandmother a parent? So their information does not belong on the FAFSA. So parent and student information. Now, if there's a special circumstance as to why that parent information is not available, I've already talked to you about that process, how you can deal with that and address that with the institution. But as far as the application information is concerned, the parent information only is there and the student information. If you don't have the parent's information, then you can't put that, but you'll still be able to submit with your student information only. And then when we process it and it goes to the institution probably most likely will be asking, hey, we're missing some parent information. What happened? And then that's the point in time when the engagement with the student and the financial aid administrator can find out what the details are around that and see what options they have for maybe a special judgment, special circumstances, or not. So on the application, to your question, they're not looking for grandmother, uncle, aunt, cousin, even if that person has been a provider and a supporter, I understand that. But for FAFSA purposes and the application purposes, whose information? Parent and student. Okay.
Sorry. Hi. So I was wondering, is there anything in the works to kind of streamline the process of signature pages for parents without socials? Because right now that signing it, putting an envelope, taking it to the post office is a lot of steps between the parent coming to me and the FSA getting the information they need.
Streamline, no.
Like faxing?
I will tell you, we're always looking to innovate, though. I don't mean to be that blunt. We're always looking to be innovative. I understand that, but again, the Title IV aid is for citizens, U.S. citizens.
Well, the
parents'
student's a
information-
citizen. It's the parent.
Right, students okay, but the parent who may not be, their information can't be on the application as far as the signature is concerned. So we do provide that option where they can print the application. It takes about usually about up to 10 days or so. We really encourage you to submit and mail that signature page simultaneously at the same time, so when we get it, we can get it and mirror it up. But once we get it in the mail, we do match it up with the name, so make sure all that information is there correctly, and then we can go ahead and complete the application process. But as far as putting that parent's information on the application, right now, there's nothing that I'm aware of that's in the works to change that.
If I get to vote, I'm going to suggest maybe scanning, faxing, or, digital copies of that signature page as opposed to a physical copy going in the postal mail. And then I had another question, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as students who are selected for verification, is there any more direct way for those students to be notified they've been selected than putting it on their college to-do list? Because a lot of students don't even know that they have a to-do list, which is what we're here for, but not everybody has us.
Yeah, I know. And as navigators, I know you guys hear and see these challenges that students come back to you and talk about. Verification is an interesting thing, and it varies as to why one might be selected for verification. It might be verification of Social Security information or income information or all kinds of things. We do put that on their SAR, so they're aware when they complete the FAFSA, when they get their student aid report back, they can see on there that they've been flagged for verification. Now, unfortunately, a lot of students don't look at that. So I want you to encourage them to read that. But it's really critical that once you have determined that you've been flagged for verification, that you immediately follow up with the school that you intend to go to, so you can make sure that you meet that institution's process for rectifying or resolving any verification issues. Beyond that, I think as David mentioned earlier about some of the challenges when a student shows up on campus for school and they haven't necessarily worked through their verification issues if they were flagged for something 2 or 3 months earlier. So it's really critical that you inform the student that they not only read their student aid report and determine if they have been flagged for verification, and then follow up with the institution to see how the institution wants to resolve it, whether it be sending a copy of a tax return to verify some income or a copy of a Social Security card or whatever. And most schools will send you what's called a document tracking letter, letting you know, because as soon as we send them your information, they typically respond back to the address that they have on file saying, we got your information, we processed it, and this is how you can resolve it. So really encourage them to follow up with the institution and see how they can resolve that quickly so they can get an award letter with that resolution. One more question.
Yeah, you might have answered it, so the answer might be no, but maybe to my colleagues as well, with verification, I mean, it's tripping up. Every single one of my students has to verify something, and the only thing that we have a community college that says the majority of our students do have to verify, so at least students know, but they have gone through so many processes, and then they're having to verify 3 different things, and at that point, they're just like, are you kidding me? Like this. So are there resources that you guys know of, or that your website could say right up front, like, it is very likely that you will have to
I can't say that. I mean,
something?
schools in Seattle may look different in Alabama. Schools in California may look different in New Mexico. So we're talking about 20 million applications a year, you know, in different situations. So I think we try to do a good job of really letting students know what they can possibly expect so they know on the front end. Again, different populations look differently around the country and different needs in various communities. But again, I can recommend you as navigators who are informed and you know the steps, you can help minimize those by encouraging those and helping those students get that verification information so they can successfully submit it to the institution and get it resolved for an award letter. At this stage, we kind of really want to empower institutions. They know their student, their populations, and they're required by federal law to resolve these challenges. These are federal tax dollars, and we really have to make sure we're being vigilant about how we're administering our programs and making sure dollars are going to the right people for the right reasons and so forth. So verification is verification, but we really want to work with you and our navigators particularly. That's why I'm glad we have the training that you all are going through so you can work successfully with the parents and students at the local level to help them understand how they can resolve it quickly. But procrastination and not dealing with it is going to slow it up even more. But we really think that we're seeing a lot of successes around the country. So with that said, I hope I was able to answer some of your questions well, and this has been beneficial to you in some way. Has it been? Been helpful for you all? Again, thank you all for coming to D.C. I'm glad to be with you, and I'll be aside if you have some questions.